Here we are in the flight deck of the 737-300. One thing I've noticed, Johnny, is that the control columns are kind of moving around on their own.
Very normal.
Is that a real aeroplane thing?
Yeah, it is. When the wind's blowing, they will move. So as soon as we turn the hydraulics on, they'll stop. But if the hydraulics are off, it'll just blow with the wind. Obviously, it's quite an old aircraft, cables and wires and stuff. So just feeds back to the flight controls.
Now, it's pretty unusual that you would actually find an aeroplane in this state.
No, in a scheduled operation, we never get on in a cold and dark situation. It will always be powered up, either at least with a battery. I think since I've been back, I can't remember a time it hasn't been on ground power or the APU.
Okay, all right. So this is pretty unusual.
Yeah.
So we're here in Dublin. Last night we had a couple of Guinnesses, maybe half a Guinness, half a Guinness.
12 hours ago.
So there's only you and me. There's only you and me here in Dublin. So it's kind of up to us really today. So what we're going to do is we actually have the proper Boeing checklist. We're going to actually try and start this up from cold and dark. Johnny's actually going to talk us through. Which is actually,
we would use the checklist because obviously this is a procedure we don't do from memory. We don't do it very often, so we would probably get the book out.
Okay, you wouldn't.
Make sure we wouldn't start flicking
this.
Switch. No, because just in case we don't do it very often. So just in case a switch or a lever isn't in a position, like a flap lever's in a position it's not supposed to be, or a gear lever, you stick everything on the hydraulics on. It could be very nasty or potentially quite dangerous to somebody who's got his fingers in a Kruger flap or something, and then the hydraulics turn on, and you lose your fingers.
All right, so the checklist is kind of important.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's cool. So let's have a little look then. What's first on the checklist, Johnny?
Well, we've got here exterior safety inspection, the captain or first officer, so either other person can do it. Surfaces and shocks, obviously that's on the outside. Maintenance status, obviously that's tech log and stuff. We're not going to look at that now. Flight deck safety inspection, so you're looking for all the flight deck access power switch as installed. So obviously that's the cockpit door lock. Go up slightly. Yeah, they haven't modelled it, which is normal on these, isn't it? I think.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's basically just something.
Yeah, you're just checking that's not down. So as soon as you close the door, you're not going to sort of lock yourself out.
Oh right. Okay.
And then battery switch.
Right. So battery switch.
You just flick the guard down. That'll turn it on. There you go.
Flicking that'll turn it on. All right. Cool.
Nice. Yep. And then you can, electric hydraulic pump switches, it says off, so you need to make sure they're off.
They're the middle ones there, yeah?
Yeah, so in a normal situation, the two engine ones on the left and right, the furthest left, furthest right, they will never really turn off.
Okay, so would we be turning those on now?
They wouldn't, they wouldn't be off anyway, so we never turn them off.
Right.
Because when the engine goes off, the pumps turn off.
Okay.
So there's no real need for them to turn off in a situation. The only time we'd ever touch that was in a checklist situation where the checklist dictates to do so.
So whoever shut this aeroplane down last night, they were too busy thinking about the Guinness.
It's one of those dodgy engineers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, okay. So if we move those to on, then that's correct now.
Nothing happens. Obviously, the low pressure light stays on because the engines aren't running. The engine-driven pumps aren't running. So yeah.
Got you.
What else you got here? We've got landing gear lever down. Obviously, that's quite an important one.
Yeah,
so make sure the gear is, because it will try and come up. It's not like a 777, which is clever and all. It will try and come up.
It will try and come up.
Yeah. So when obviously the gear pins are in, it won't. The gear locking pins. Sometimes, just for instance, if the first officer's CDU, the FMC down there, that's broken, you actually have to lift the gear lever up to get it out. If you look at where it's positioned, you cannot pull it out with the gear lever down. So it's always a nasty one for the engineers. They never like doing it. You put the gear pins in, put the gear up, and you feel the aircraft sort of just shake a little bit under its own strain.
I wouldn't like that.
Yeah, just to get it out. So okay. That's why we do that.
Right. Okay.
All green landing gear indication lights illuminated, which they are. So that means they're all down a lot.
Nose and left and right.
Radar switch is off. That's just to make sure the weather radar's off.
Is that this
yeah, it will be,
little thing here?
Yeah, that's off. So you're not sort of frying the ground crew down there.
All right, cool.
So that's the sort of the flight safety inspection. That's all the main sort of. No, it's not going to hurt anybody.
So that's the big ticket items. We're not going to collapse the gear or fry someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Or lock ourselves out.
Yes, you can get in, but it's embarrassing. Preliminary flight deck in preparation, captain or first officer. Ground power switch, if ground power is available, on.
So what would we... normally on the ground, are you running the APU or are you on ground power? Or
obviously, fuel's expensive now. Airlines and APU cycles are expensive, APU maintenance. So they do prefer to use the ground power. So depending where you are, it'll either be a portable ground power unit or it'll come straight off the air bridge.
Okay, well, we've got the ground power unit there.
There you go.
We've also got an option to connect the ground air supply.
Yeah.
would you always? I mean, because today in Dublin, it's a kind of April day, so it's not particularly hot. It's not particularly cold. Would you not?
If you're down route in summer in Spain, Tenerife, places like that, you will normally have ground air. If the ground air is not available, you'll normally start the APU. If certain airports have different restrictions on the times, you can keep the APU running after you've come on stand and the time before you depart. But there might be a note saying, but if the temperature's above 30 degrees and ground power is not available, use your APU because you know when your passengers start frying. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So, but on a day like today in Dublin, where it's probably about 10 degrees Celsius outside,
you probably wouldn't start the APU until about 10 minutes before pushback.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But we wouldn't have ground air either, would we?
No, not if you've asked for it. Unless you ask for it. No,
right. Okay.
No.
We just open the doors and get a bit of a breeze.
Exactly.
Going.
Yeah.
Got you. All right. So we'll just have the ground power for now then.
Yeah. The cabin won't get that hot. The flight deck's the only place that really gets warm because of all the electronics when you get it going.
Right. Okay.
So
we can open. We can actually open the windows.
Okay.
Would you do that?
We do down route. Yeah. Get a bit of fresh air.
There you go.
Oh, it sounds windy out there.
Yeah, it's a little bit windy here in Dublin. Yeah, it's a little bit windy.
All the paperwork starts flying everywhere.
I'll close that before I've just... all my charts have blown away.
There we go.
Right, there you go. All right, cool. Right, so we've got ground power on.
So, I mean, some people like to... You can go up here and check the ground power so you can look at the electrical panel at the top.
All right.
If you select... It's actually on ground power on the right-hand side, look. So you check it's got 400 hertz, 115 volts, and then...
Okay, so is that just checking the quality of the power?
It is, yeah, but if the quality's not correct, the ground power light won't come on. Sometimes it does come on, but then you try and click it and it won't connect, and you look up here and the hertz might be slightly off. It doesn't very rarely happen, but
so that's
that
fine.
looks very normal. Yeah, so I'd expect that to click on as soon as you pushed it.
All right, so now we do that, and we click it.
Yeah.
All right, so we hear lots of clunks. What's all the clunking sound?
It's a lot of relays. Obviously, it's quite old-fashioned. So you got the relays behind the first officer, click, and then it's a big clunk. And the same when you start the engines and put it on the bus.
Right. Okay.
There'll be nice big clunks. I think on the 800 it doesn't have that sound. They're a little bit more, high tech.
A bit less clunky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
all right. Perfect. Cool.
I think that clicking you can hear is the vibrating in the altimeters. It vibrates the needle so they never get stuck. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is.
All right. Cool.
What else we got then? So ground powers we've done. Bus off lights extinguished. So obviously the bus off lights.
That's the one in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's see, you've got a bus on, and faulting up detection check. So
so how do we do this then?
So you're looking down for the fire panel. So you've got these two switches here. So what we normally do, you hold it left first for the faults, and you'll get a lot of amp. You'll get caution. So if you look up on your panel at the front.
Okay.
Let's just check if we. Right, if you just push the master caution reset,
okay,
and now do it again, you'll see the ones that's supposed to come on. There you go. So you've got fault and APU detection and op down here.
Yeah, okay.
That's very normal. And then up here you should have a number 3. You should have master caution, overheat detection on just the master caution on the right, which you do there. That's very normal.
All right, cool.
And now you're going to push it to the right. You'll get a nice little bell, which we hopefully will never hear in the air. We normally cancel that if you pull that when you can pull that bell cut out when it goes.
Right.
I don't know if you'd have two mouses, so
I'm not sure whether I can actually click these things at once. But
so normally what we do, you can either push the red caution, that'll cancel the bell. You can just hold the lights will stay on, just so it doesn't sort of frighten the passengers who are boarding.
So people are getting on in a minute, and they're like,
so you would have done this before they got on, but sometimes if the fuel is connected and the fuel is taken a while, we won't do the fire check when the fuel is connected because it sets off alarm in the main wheel well bay,
and then he starts
thinking there's an APU fire and starts panicking. So we don't tend to do it when the fuel is around, just obviously for obvious reasons.
Okay.
So we tested that. And obviously it talks about that in quite length there. Fire overheat warning we've just done, and obviously you've got the extinguisher squibs on the right here, so you can go right and left. All those 3 lights should come on, just letting you know that the bottles. And certain aircraft, I mean, not all of our aircraft do that, but certain aircraft have the discharge to come on as well. But this one does. So
cool.
Some don't, some do.
All right, so let's test it.
So that's extinguishers, APU. So in a real situation, you probably wouldn't start the APU yet.
We can
if you want to start the APU, we're not paying for this fuel, are we?
No,
so
we're not paying for the fuel.
We're
not paying for the fuel.
So he's down here.
So we just pull that.
Yeah, hold it for a second, and it'll start starting.
So we get low oil pressure, and then are we going to expect to see the EGT go up?
You see the EGT rise, yeah, exactly. And then when it's ready, you'll see this.
The 80 amps
and then you've got the bus off light will come on.
Okay,
meaning it's available to come on.
Where does it get the fuel from for the APU?
The left fuel tank.
Do we have to turn any?
Yeah, so sorry, I just should have mentioned that really. So basically, you want the left forward on. It will suction feed,
Right.
So that's the left.
So that's
the left forward.
Oh, it's left forward.
Yeah.
Sorry, that one. Sorry,
the left forward.
That one there.
So that's the pump, the APU. If we're using centre tank fuel and there's more than a ton in the centre, we'll put the centres on.
Right.
So it's not imbalancing the fuel tanks.
Right.
But
Okay.
in normal operations, but a lot of times you get on. I don't know what some of the engineers don't do. Some do, some don't. But you get the APU is running, but there's no fuel pumps on it. It's just suction feeding, which is fine.
Okay.
But just to help it out a bit, we put the left.
So
forward
that's
fuel
why
pump on.
it started. But it's.
Yeah. It will start. Yeah. It will start.
All right. So APU looks like it started now.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick APU start.
That was quite quick. Yeah, that was quite quick.
Right. Quicker than you.
Some are quick. Some aren't. We've got two different types of the Airline2Sim, so depending which one.
Okay. All right. Cool. So what's the drill with the APU then? Do we just turn the
on the ground you can put both on, so you go left and right. So click
that one.
Right. Yeah. In the air you can only put one on bus.
Got you.
In the air, but on the ground you can both.
And then to get rid of the ground power, do we want to actually?
No,
that's
that's clicked it. It's already off. So it's automatically transferred it. Yeah.
Got
yeah.
you.
It's automatically just clicked it
Right,
over, so you can take that off.
Take that off. That will disappear.
Obviously, if you took that off beforehand, it goes very dark and very quiet, and
Got you.
captain starts shouting.
Okay. Cool.
So.
All right.
So we've done the APU. Flap lever's set. I presume this means just. It's obviously the different checklists I use. This means it's up where you want it.
Is it just that the flap position is up and the,
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that
must be really set. Yeah, it doesn't really go
Right,
to position the flap lever to agree with the. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
To agree with the flap's position indicator. You can see how often I do this checklist.
So is that just checking that the flap lever is not disagreeing with what's shown?
Yeah. So if you've got up and it's jammed at 5. I mean, obviously the hydraulics aren't on, so it's not going to be doing much anyway. It won't come up anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you're just doing that just to make sure that when you do put the hydraulics on, it's not going to sort of start moving quite quickly. That's the only thing I can think of. Cargo fire system as installed. This probably doesn't have one, does it, or not? That'll be down here.
Let's have a little look.
Actually, some of them are up on the top panel as well. Depends on the fit.
We've got cargo detection
you
suppression.
Do. Okay, you do.
So is it just the test
Yeah, you
button?
hold that down. It'll hold it. There you go.
All right, and then we get the red lights and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's fine. You obviously, if you look up, you'll have the red fire warning as well in the front of your face.
One thing in X-Plane I've not quite figured out is how you hold stuff down and then look up.
Oh, really?
I've not quite figured that
Again,
one out yet.
I can't help you.
I'm still a bit of a, that's one thing a real pilot can't help with. All right, cool.
So we've got here cargo fires. Here's a lot of detail about that. Emergency equipment checks. Obviously checking your fire extinguisher. That's behind the captain's seat.
Right.
Checked and
I'm
stowed.
pretty sure they've modeled
it should be down. Where is it? Oh, it's not there.
Where is it normally?
Should be just in here. So that's where ours are, but can't see it.
All right. It looks like a rather snug jump seat on a 737.
Yeah, that's not really. I mean, it's called the jump seat. That's not actually the one you use for the jump seat. That one says, I think there should be a label somewhere, does not use for takeoff and landing, I think. The actual jump seat, if you look left, is here.
Oh, that's that thing.
And you pull this sort of thing down, and it clicks into a sort of bracket on here, and then you sort of have to build. So many aircraft I've known you have to build your own jump seat.
Absolutely. Oh, right. Okay.
Can't
so
actually see the bracket, so there should be like a little bracket there, just next to the filing cabinet, and then you sort of build it up, and there's 2 more brackets up here, which you on the side, which they're not there, but you click it into.
They're kind of there.
And so yeah, once it's in, you can't get out. So
oh, really? So you're trapped if you've got a jump seat passenger?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure on ours the label on that jump seat that's there says not for use for takeoff and landing, but we don't use it for takeoff and landing.
All right, cool. So sorry, we've got the fire extinguisher. What's the other thing?
What do we got? What do we get? Emergency equipment, fire extinguisher. It says verify safe tied. Okay.
Safe tied.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Crew oxygen valve open. The crew oxygen valve is on the right, behind the first officer's seat. It should be down here somewhere. That's where it is. You see this valve here?
Okay, it's that one there.
Yeah. So you're just verifying that's open.
Right.
Again, if it hasn't been a
very
maintenance.
impressed if they modelled this.
Yeah.
Just bear with me. I didn't realise that we were going to be coming all the way over here. Okay. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's something that we don't touch either. I mean, you look to see it's where it's supposed to be, unless it's been. I mean, what we tend to do if the aircraft's been in maintenance in the hangar, you tend to have a bit more of a look because obviously it's been on the ground for a while. But if it's just come back flying, I mean, yeah, you look, but
you look, but don't touch.
It should be where it shouldn't be.
Cool.
It shouldn't have moved.
Yeah.
Flight recorder test. We don't tend to do this in the real aircraft. That's obviously on the overhead panel. Down a bit. Down a bit. It's actually down here. There. Yeah, so we don't tend to test it. I think the only way you can, that sort of goes up. I think you can probably put a headset in and listen. I don't know. I've never actually done it myself. It's not something we actually test.
Okay.
More of an engineer's job, to be honest.
We're pretty sure that's working.
Yeah, you can listen to us. Flight recorder off flight, so it goes into Mach airspeed warning test, which is pushed there on the overhead panel as well, quite near the top right.
So there.
Yeah.
So
there you go. So you get clicker, the clackers, and then another clacker.
And does anything else happen while this is going?
No, that's all that happens. You just hear the clackers. Yeah, nothing appears on the screens or anything. It's just the noise.
Okay.
Then the stall warning test switches, which again are up there.
Right. Okay.
And this sounds like the machine guns are going off.
Okay.
It just shakes the control columns.
Okay, cool.
So that scares the kids when they come in the flight deck. We've got reverser lights.
Yeah, so they're out. So is that the reverser unlock lights there?
No, reversers on the overhead panel. That's the reverser unlock lights. They're different. So reverser lights are up here on the engine panel up here.
Oh, so these.
So it's one of these lights.
Here.
I'm trying to think without pushing. I can't remember which one it is.
Hang on.
You've got the PMCs and you've got.
I'll bring us up there.
Yeah, so if you push them, obviously they'll come on. The lights will test it when you push them.
Okay.
So I think it's the top one. I seem to remember, but
is there anything?
If you click them, they'll come on. They should do. That's what it does in real aircraft.
Okay. No, they haven't modelled that. I don't
Okay.
think. Okay. Well,
so
they're not.
if you put the light test switch on, it'll come on just to see.
Oh yeah. Okay. Light test is down here, isn't it?
Just that. Click that.
Test.
Yeah.
There you go.
So if you go back up, they'll be on.
Go back
there you
up.
Go. The reverser and the PMCs. So yeah, the reverser light's basically just checking because sometimes if the reverser's a fault, if you've stowed the reversers is not in its commander position, that light will come on as well. Just to tell you that something's wrong with it, and you'll get a master caution because it's not in your field of view, just to alert your eyes upwards.
All right, cool.
PMC switches on. Obviously, we fly with the PMC switches on. That's normal. They're up there as well. Passenger oxygen switch normal. Obviously, if it's not normal and it's down, you'll have the rubber jungle down the back. But that's you're just checking that's guarded. I mean, if you go up there,
that one there.
So you make sure it's guarded. It'll normally be tied as well with a little bit of copper wire as well, normally, just to make sure you're not going to sort of nudge it with your head.
Yeah,
because obviously it's quite a pain if all those come down. It gives you a nice caution there. Switch activation will cause deployment of a passenger oxygen mask, which is pretty job limiting. Crew oxygen pressure indicator check. That's up here as well, just here. So depending on what kind of what tank you've got in your manuals, it will tell you how much pressure you need for how many people you've got on the flight deck. That looks very sufficient to me. Service interphone switch as required. That's again a switch I think I've never touched in my career.
Isn't it? That one there.
Yeah, that should be just. We'll leave that there.
Is it off? Yeah, cool.
That's just basically if everybody plugs in the maintenance. Lots of switches are outside the aircraft, so the maintenance guys can talk to each other. But we don't tend to touch that.
All right, cool.
Iris motor letters to nav. So yeah, that's the first sort of main switch.
So now we're actually getting into the pre-flight jobby.
So you'll click them to nav, and it'll sort of do a little test. You'll see on DC, and then it'll go to the align mode where it'll start a line. They'll go off.
There's a line.
And if you look at the top up here, if you just
I can switch that around.
Click. There you go.
There you go.
So that 7 is telling you how many minutes. For some reason, it only goes up to a maximum of 7. Right. So if it takes 10 minutes to align, it'll still say 7, but it'll stay 7 till it gets to 7. Then start counting down. I don't know why.
That's a random.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first 737 300ism we've come across. Right,
I can't come on an 800 yet because
I'm sure that'll have lots of strange foibles as
well. Where do we get to? Cyrus is obviously it talks about that. Circuit breakers and you check. So you're basically checking all the circuit breakers are in. Some aircraft will have them collared if it's a system they're not using. Say if it had electronic flight bags or something like that which you're not using anymore, or CPDLC that's fitted and it's not being used. Certain ones are collared, they're normal, but you're just looking for anything that's popped.
Right.
And
you
don't tend to push them in without consulting an engineer.
Is there an easy way to look at the circuit breakers?
Yeah, I normally stand sort of beam it.
Right.
And scan with my hand down, and you can just see because they're white when they're pulled. I don't know if you can pull one.
No, I don't think they are modelled.
Can't pull. Okay, no worries.
I don't think so.
So yeah, they're white, so they stand out quite a lot, and they stick out about the same length as they stick out now. So they stick out twice as much. So they are quite easy to see.
Got you. All right. Okay. They all look alright to me.
Yeah. So they're fine.
Cool.
Obviously, you've got the panel behind the captain as well. There's another set of circuit breakers behind him, so you have a look there.
Right. Okay. Yeah, again, I don't actually...
There you go, there's a collar, that's what... is that a collar?
Is that a collar?
Not a collar, I don't think. No, that's not a collar.
So if anything's wrong here, these will actually just
They'll
pop out.
Yeah. The only ones we're not really... I mean, we normally are allowed to reset them once, depending on what it is. If it's a fuel pump, we don't reset, we don't touch it. We don't reset fuel pumps, that's the big no-no.
Okay.
But we normally will consult... On the ground, we wouldn't touch them, we'd just get an engineer to do it. But in the air, we're allowed to reset them once, obviously depending on the system.
Right,
if we're within range of HF or sat phones, whatever, and we wanted to consult with main control, we'd do that first, really.
Right, okay.
Obviously, because we're not engineers.
All right.
Circuit breaker we've done. Rain repellent. That rain repellent does not exist on the 747 anymore.
It's not that, isn't it? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been carcinogenic, I think.
Carcinogenic
Yeah,
or something,
exactly, yeah. I think it hasn't been used in the 10 years I've been flying, and I know I flew with captains who said it was fantastic. Heavy
it was
rain.
really good stuff.
It sort of came when it made this nice hole in front of you.
Wasn't it a little button here above the wipers, and it sprayed something on the windscreen?
Yeah, most of ours, I'm surprised, most of ours have got it. They've still got, it just says an op on ours.
No, this is not fitted.
No.
So it was basically just like a solution that sprayed.
Yeah, it's like when you wax your car and they put wax in, it sort of moves the water, makes it sort of all congeal together.
The water just kind of beads off.
Apparently it's fantastic, but it's not, and there's two little nozzles like when your car spray up.
Because the wipers in this are monstrous. I mean, I know that you're not supposed to use wipers on the driving screen, but hey, it's a sim. But is that so?
Yeah, I mean, if you put the decibels up about 3 times, that's probably pretty accurate. Yeah.
Right, okay, so it's even louder than that.
Oh, they're horrible. Yeah, right. They are horrible.
And they don't self park.
They don't. You've got to park them.
When you turn them off, they just stop wherever they stop.
Wherever they stop, and they normally stop at different heights, and they don't go in sequence. And they're pretty agricultural.
Right.
Yeah.
That's quite funny. There you go, like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one might be up, one might be down. It's quite funny.
Hilarious. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not the finest bit of technology.
No, it's not Boeing's
wiper.
finest hours. The 737 windows are. Yeah.
Okay.
Wipers.
Cool.
So that and the crash axe, obviously
the crash axe. Yeah. Well, let's hope we won't need that to do. Okay. Cool.
And then it goes into the exterior inspection.
Which we won't.
Yeah. Okay. So that's fine.
We'll take it as read. I mean that.
That's fine.
IXEG haven't given us an aeroplane that's got bits missing.
That's right. So then it goes into the flight deck preparation.
We probably want to get the lighting. We want the position lights on as well, don't we? I guess something we omitted earlier.
Again, that's
so. What's the difference between it says on bat and off? What does position on bat mean? What's the
I think say if it's being towed without the APU, well, normally they would have the APU running. I don't know why you'd use that, but it means it's just using the battery instead of the actual AC systems.
So are there 3 positions to this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right.
so be on the bottom will be just normal on the AC systems,
right?
And then you go on the DC on the battery on the top.
Okay, so that's on bat.
That's a switch again. We don't touch the position lights. Will unless even when you're shutting it down, when you're putting it to bed, you will probably leave that on, because as soon as you turn it back on, you need them really.
Right. Just while we're here on I know we're going a little bit off the plan here. The logo lights. Am I right in thinking that if you got winglets, then there isn't a logo light on the tail?
on the retrofitted winglets, there's no logo lights, so that'll be an op.
Right. Okay. So you get a sticker on that. I think they're actually going to put a sticker on that.
Okay.
Strobe lights, we know, big white strobes on the outside. Anti-collision lights are just the red ones. The wing lights.
Wing lights, they light up the leading edge. Of the 737-300 is quite a short little thing, so it's one of the few airlines you can actually see the wing from the flight deck.
Right. Okay. Let me put the dome light on so we can see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Dome light to right.
Yeah.
Is that right? There you go. So let's go wing lights on.
So this is the light basically at the root of the leading edge, and it just lights all the leading edge up, so you can see see if there's any ice accumulating on it.
Oh, okay, right, I got you. So you'd be sitting here.
Basically, and you can stick your head in the window a little bit, and look back, so you can see a lot. You can see at least half the wing.
Yeah, I mean it's
a lot more of the wing you can see on the 777. You can see anything.
Yeah, that's true.
So no, the wing light's something that we don't sort of use that on the ground. It's just more of a tool we use in the air just to see if there's any ice accumulating.
Right. While we're here at night time, circuit breakers, that just lights up the circuit breakers.
Exactly, yeah.
Is there a little? Do they have their own little lights? Does it shine on them or does it backlight them?
It shines on them. So yeah.
So let me turn around here. So there's a little. So it's this little light here.
If you turn it off now, I think you won't be able to see much.
It should all go dark, right? Yeah. So I turn that off. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's all a bit dark back there now.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a circuit breaker light. Yeah. This is the
panel. That's the top panel.
Is that the backlighting?
That's just the backlighting. Yeah.
All right. What else have we got light wise?
So you got if you go down slightly on the captains, you got his AFDS flood here. You've got
that one.
Yeah.
And that's this story here. Yeah. Right. Cool.
That's just the floodlight above this MCP there, the remote control panel.
Okay.
Background, obviously, that does what it says in the tin as well.
This is my favourite thing.
Yeah, that's very realistic.
So is that like a little fluorescent light then?
It is. If you they might have modelled it. If you go underneath, you can probably see it. Yeah, there you go.
So that's why it kind of flickers.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of some of them do, but they've probably all got different fits, and obviously they're quite old, so they've On about their 75th light, probably, you know. So.
Okay, and then that's the kind of panel backlighting for this panel.
Yeah, that controls obviously the engine instruments, and the first officer's side just controls his or hers instruments there. So.
Okay, and then we've got a little map light here. That's the thing above your head, isn't it?
Yeah, so it pulls in and pulls out. So you push it in, push the switch in.
Right. And then
you got a clock button there as well, which some of them have, some of them don't.
That's that one.
Yeah,
and does
that starts a stopwatch.
That starts a down there.
Yeah,
got you. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then just while we're on the lighting, let me just come down here.
Yeah.
So this is the panel backlighting for the pedestal,
and there's a flood there's a flood which is based in the overhead panel, which shines down right at the top.
Okay, so that
shines straight down on the centre console.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Now, on a normal, when you're on the ground, what kind of lighting would you have at this time of the night?
On the ground, you know, at night, you probably have most things up bright, because obviously you're not flying. You've got paperwork and stuff to look at, load sheets to do, etc. So, you probably have it up quite bright. Definitely the dome light bright, and depending on which pilot wants his or hers lighting set. So. Right,
okay. And then once you kind of started moving,
once normally happens, what we just in case we need to manuals or anything, we'll push back, start the engines. Once the ground crew have gone, they need to see us obviously wave in the flight deck. We'll normally then turn the dome light off and then adjust the lights as necessary.
Right, okay.
It's normally up to the pilot flying how they want their lights.
You've got this little red light down here that just lights up the...
Yeah, that's sort of another map light, really.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, you can actually take it off in the real one and hold it. It's like a handheld one, and you twist. You can change it to white or red, and you can twist the top, and it's...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this one, it just lights up the little oxygen mask down there. Which is,
that's just in its holster, basically, where it
sits.
Yeah.
Cool, all right.
That's interesting. You've got the secondary landing gear indications. They're useful, because... If you look up here, you've got another gear indication. They're very useful.
Right.
Basically, if you have a bulb go
right
on the main ones, you don't know if the gear's down and locked, or if it's an indication problem, or if the gear is actually down and locked. So that's a nice one to have.
Do they not all have that?
No, they don't. So say if you lose a bulb there on your main one, you have to go down and actually physically check.
Really?
Through the little view hole down the back.
Okay, so that's down. Just in the cabin,
you've got one in the flight deck, obviously the nose wheel, looking straight down.
Right.
And you've got one in the cabin halfway down.
I think you can see that. There you go. That one there.
No, that's the alternate gear extension handles.
Oh, right.
It's normally about there. That should be it there.
Okay, it should be in the middle there. Yeah. Right. I wonder if that opens. Yeah.
So there's 300 there, and they come out quite a long way. It's like starting a lawnmower. You sort of pull them out really long way, and then the last minute they click, and you release the sort of the lock, and they will just drop with the gravity, basically.
Right. Okay. Let's hope we're not going to need that today. We'll come back to that another time. Okay. Right. Sorry, we got distracted with lighting. Let's get back on the program. So we're in the flight deck preparation now.
Yeah, so I think this is probably a state you'd probably find the aircraft in.
So this is more kind of realistic, really. Now.
This is you walk on the flight deck, and you can see on the FMC that it's flashing up enter IRS position, and the engineers normally very kindly put the stand number or the airport reference point in for you, and that's probably the state you'll find it in. So that's the page we normally start on.
Okay.
And this is probably what I do now. Actually, I probably wouldn't go up and touch the switches until I've set the FMC up. You've done the preliminary bit. You've done all the checks. If you go in at ref and then and then index ident.
So index.
Top left ident. So that's the page you find the aircraft on. So you just check in. It's a 300. You've got 20k engine in this one. So they're the slightly less powerful ones than we used to. And you've taken that's in date,
which it is. Not quite. Yes, it is. Yeah. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Normally, it will tell you what it'll have a sort of a cut-off date. It'll say runs from this to this.
Right.
On ours anyway.
Okay, so this is a week out of date.
And you'll have if it's about to expire, then more updated one below, and you just line select it and swap them around basically.
Okay. All right.
And then obviously you got that's sim related there.
Yeah. Okay.
So then you just click to the bottom right to the POS init page.
Yeah.
And you just click in. So you put the airport in.
Put the airport in. Yeah. So EID W.
Yeah, and that'll bring up the reference for the airport.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right. Normally there'll be a GPS position or there or the IRS position. So, but you can put the airport. If you put the airport position in, that'll be fine for today.
Will that do?
Yeah, there you go.
Right,
and
cool.
then it clicks in.
So now it's populated the IRS positions as well.
So it knows where it is.
Right. How come it hadn't done that a minute ago when I don't quite understand why.
Because it doesn't know, it needs a reference point to start with.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you've got to tell it where
tell it where it is, and then it will use its inertial system to either
kind of update that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. So it knows the position of the air. So we tell it the position of the airport. It can kind of almost figure out kind of where in the airport we are.
It detects the Earth spinning and complicated magic stuff like that. So
it's all magic.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Right. So are we going to be the route page first of all, or the
init
page?
So you just push route.
Route. There you go.
So yeah, origin should self-populate. It didn't actually. In the real one, it will normally self-populate because you've given it where it is. You told you in Dublin.
So it knows where it is.
It should just pop up automatically, but it didn't.
All right.
That's normally what happens.
All right. Never mind. Okay. So EITW.
So that goes in there.
All right. So let's say Manchester, for the sake of argument. EGCC.
Yeah.
So let's be. We can be Johnny Flight 10. There you go.
Yeah, and a lot of them, that's linked to the Mode S transponder. So if you don't put anything in there, or you forgot to change it from the last flight, whatever, that is what will pop up on the ATC's screen.
Do we put the runway in at this point?
It doesn't matter if you just sort of put the mouse on the departure arrival page. Yeah, you can do it from there, and it will self-propagate that. So no, it's not. You
wouldn't. It's kind of doing it twice, really.
If you do it in there, it'll do it there.
Right. Okay. So we'll go off 2.8.
Yeah.
And then Liffey 5 Alpha. There you go.
Now departure arrival.
And then departure arrival. Yeah, there you go.
Arrival.
So we want to put the departure in, then the arrival, then join it up.
Yeah, that's what I normally do. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Mersey 1 Bravo.
And it's 2-3
left,
right, actually.
Yeah, 2-3 right is normally,
Yeah.
Probably the Mersey transition. I haven't looked at the route. I haven't done that arrival ever, I don't think. But I'd guess a Mersey transition.
Yeah. We'll run with that
without looking at the route.
Yeah.
Cool. So your route goes Lima 975. Obviously, the airways go on the left, waypoints go on the right.
Okay, so we're going Lima 975 to
Linus Lima Yankee November Alpha Sierra.
Linus.
And then that joins up. There you go.
And then that's it.
And what would normally happen in the real aircraft is that one of you's put the route in. The other pilot will then check it and activate it. So let's pretend that I've checked it.
So would you go through the legs page and just check that?
You check the route. I mean, some guys, but we've got to remember that if it's an airway, it'll only give you the airway, and then when you finish on the airway, so there'll be loads of what might be 50 waypoints in between it.
Right.
But what we normally do is just check on the route page. I don't normally check the legs page. You don't need to check the legs page for obviously the arrival and stuff if you're messing around with that.
All right.
And the legs page obviously has the speeds and the heights and things for the SIDS and stars.
All right, well, that looks right to me.
So you click activate, that'll then make the little white light come on with the execute, and you click execute. Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. And then take off. So, actually, no, perf init first.
Init normally, yeah.
Cool. Now, we've got a little option here. Let's have a quick talk about this, because I think a lot of people are probably quite interested to know how this works. We've got ground surfaces, and then what we can do is we can fuel it, and we can set the zero fuel weight.
Okay.
So, what's the block fuel for this?
Where's that on here?
Somewhere. There you go. Block fuel 5.
So you get 5 tons.
5 tons.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
So Manchester from Dublin's not very far, is it?
Sounds all right. Yeah.
And then the zero fuel weight.
Where is it? I'm not used to this one. Where is it?
There you go.
Zero fuel weight. You've got 47.6.
Cool. So you just click the button.
Yeah.
And that changes the zero fuel weight.
Okay,
so
and the gross weight's going up there as well.
47.6. 63. That's close enough, isn't it? I'll make that instant. So that's saying gross weight 52.58 tons.
Yeah.
And the elevator trim 3.6, and the centre of gravity 20%.
Okay, well,
does that sound about right?
That in the FMC then, because it might agree with you on here. So you put the reserves in. What's the reserves? I'm not used to this flight plan, so I don't know what that is. For
reserves are about a ton.
Okay,
to
that's
Liverpool.
Okay, so if you let's say 1.2 in. Let's say actually no, put a ton in because you don't want the. Do what it says. That does seem very low, but
is that a little bit? Is that a little bit?
Sound a bit low.
A little bit exciting.
They're about 2. Normally they're about 2.5 you're looking at, but I don't know what this program's using. But yeah, put that in, that's fine.
Okay.
Plan on diverting.
Sorry, I was only looking at the alternate fuel, not the contingency fuel.
Oh, I see. It's not adding all the stuff.
So about 1.9 is actually...
okay, and you find a reserve as well. Obviously, that's fine.
Probably, are you a little bit more comfortable with that now?
More comfortable, yeah.
2 tons, yeah.
Definitely.
Cool, all right.
So 0 fuel, you've got the actual there, haven't you? So put 47.6 in there.
47.6.
Yeah, and that'll then propagate up there.
So that's saying gross weight 52.6, which is about right, isn't it?
Yeah. So that plan thing there is obviously if the fuel's still coming on. Say if you've got 2 tons, you can then put the plan fuel in, and it will give you an estimated takeoff what you're expecting. Some do, some don't. They don't have that. I don't. Most of ours don't have that.
So yours don't have. So that's looking at the actual fuel in the tanks
at the moment. So if you let's say we wanted 7 tons, put 7 tons in that plan.
Right. Okay.
And it should
update it all.
Update. Yeah.
There you go.
Click delete and on your fuel. There you go.
There you go. Right.
I've learnt something.
There you go. All right. The IXEG 737 is teaching a real 737 first officer how it works. All right, cool. Cruise altitude. There isn't actually one on the flight plan for some reason.
No, let's go up to about 18,000 probably on this route.
It's a pretty short one, isn't it?
Crossing the RSC, let's say about 18,000.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Cruise wind.
Cruise wind.
We've got
where's that?
Average wind 346.45.
Okay.
So that's just an
average. Yeah.
That's an average of the winds.
Yeah. So what we'd normally do
on the way across
is put the average in, and then once you in the cruise, or if you've got time in the ground, you go through the legs page and you'd put more accurate winds in. So the FMC has a more accurate fuel prediction and a more accurate time prediction for getting to destination.
Would you bother on a sector to Manchester, which is like 20 minutes
Probably
airborne?
Not, no, you just use you definitely bother on a longer flight,
right.
And especially if you look at the wind. If you've got like a very strong headwind later on the flight, you would definitely want to. You know,
right. Okay. ISA deviation.
Yeah, so you've got type of climb OT and ISA deviation. So you'd normally just put the top of climb OT, and it should self-propagate the ISA deviation.
It's
for you.
-3 according to the flight plan.
So if you put that in. So you put, normally what happens is we put the top of climb OT in, and it will self-propagate that box.
Oh, right.
It'll work it out for you, because obviously it knows what ISA is.
You can do it 2 different ways.
Well, I presume so. They're normally both blank when you come to it.
Oh, right,
but
okay.
the ISA deviation was already... So the top of climb OT was already there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so,
all right.
And transition altitude, it's default. Obviously, it's a Boeing, so
it's a Boeing, so it's hey, we're in America land. I think it's 3,000 here.
Okay.
If that's wrong for Dublin, then I'm sorry, but I haven't got time to go and check the chart.
So now you continue on. You click the next button, M1 limit.
M1 limit. Cool.
So that's obviously got it's got a sensor outside to detect the temperature. So but you put the ATIS temperature. You go slash.
We'll say that. So /12.
Yeah, make it big.
There you go.
Oh, slash. I don't know. No, not that one. Delete that.
Yeah, all right.
I thought you put /12.
I did.
Yeah, /12.
Have you got to put /+12?
No, you don't.
No, just 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, could have found something there.
Do you think we've found something?
I think that's a little bug there. Yeah, that's putting an assumed temperature in.
Okay.
In the real one, you do /12. It will make the font as large as what you just put in the assumed temperature box.
The OAT will go big as well.
Yeah, it'll go big to make sure you sort of harden it up. Yeah, that should harden up on the right. So
okay, all right. I'll forward that to the bugs department.
Yeah.
Do you normally derate?
You wouldn't do anything.
We haven't got a performance calculator, so it's a bit of guesswork here.
We normally have 22 engines, so on this flight, yes, you would. On a wet runway, only your max you can go down to 20k. You would never use 18.5 on a wet runway.
Okay.
But to save engine life on a dry runway on a short sector like this, where we might be quite light, you probably would use 18.5k. Okay. I'm not sure. Without looking at performance and runway lengths and stuff,
I think we'd probably be all right.
Okay.
Yeah. He said it's fairly long runway up Dublin.
They've worked out basically even on a full thrust 18.5k takeoff, it's still better than doing an assumed temperature 20k takeoff. It still saves the engine life and wear and tear wise.
Okay.
It keeps the actual core of the engine a lot cooler, so therefore the parts last longer.
That's chosen climb 1, is that right?
Yeah, so we don't touch that. Unless, of course, you're somewhere where terrain's an issue and you want to get out there quick. You might, like somewhere like Chambry, let's say in the Alps, where you want to just get above them.
You just want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, you probably click it to climb, full climb. So.
All right. Now, it will calculate the V-speeds for us automatically.
Okay.
Are you normally going off with flap 1 in this aeroplane? No,
not at all, no. Depends on the runway length, depends on the weights, depends on a lot of things, really. No, 1, 5 or 15. 5 is probably the nicest flap for takeoff. Gives you a nice tail clearance, and it gives you that's probably a mid sort of rotate speed. Flat 1 is quite a fast rotate speed, obviously.
Right.
Flat 15 is I don't like flat 15 just because if you look at the flat 15 speed limit on your flap limit speed there, it's 195 knots. It should be. There you go, 195 knots. So if you're taking off in gusty condition, let's say, and you're getting quite a lot of it's quite not easy, but you've got a higher risk of busting that limit for that flap.
Right. Okay.
And you get quite a big nose down pitch when the flap goes from 15 to 5. So it's not a nice flap. Sometimes you've got to use it if you're on a short runway.
Would you say for us then? Five is probably.
Well, do you know? I haven't even looked at the runway length. I don't know how long it is. Is it
2.8. It's pretty long. I mean, it's the longest runway at Dublin.
Okay.
So I guess
let's stick with 5. 5's a nice flap.
In terms of the range of V2 speeds, what's the highest you've ever seen in one of these?
The V2. God, it's testing now.
I mean, just as a ballpark figure. I mean, like
160, 65s maybe.
So
170s.
Like flat 1's given us 149.
Yeah, we're not at a high weight, are we?
No.
If you artificially put the weights up, you can probably see.
We are at the moment. We are 52 tons.
Yeah.
What's the max?
300, you're looking 60 tons really.
Right.
Some of them are a little bit higher. Some go up to sort of 62 tons. So yeah, we're already below max landing weight. So you're taking off below max landing weight. So that I'd class that as quite a light. So
we're pretty light.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we're going to run with flat 5.
Yeah.
So we're just going to hit those.
And, go back to your init ref page just to check we've put everything in.
Yeah. Okay.
So cruise CG is a bit low. It's quite not normally that low. Let's put about 17 in the cruise CG.
Cruise CG.
So you put slash. Yeah. So like with the other page.
If I go slash
17, let's say.
17. Okay.
Invalid entry.
Right. Doesn't like that.
Maybe it's the way it's been loaded. I don't know how it's been loaded. Obviously, it's a sim. So
if I go, hang on. Can you type the gross weight in?
No.
You can't.
You can't type the gross weight in.
So you can only change the
zero fuel weight. You can only change zero fuel weight, and you can only change the CFG.
Right.
Again, this is a sim, so I'm not sure how they've coded that.
So that trim, that 4.8 is not what we want. For
yeah,
the
that's
trim?
fine. Yeah. You look down, you've got the green band. So if you look on the actual trim wheel, that's the takeoff band. So anything outside that band, you'll get the takeoff config warning. So if you put it to 6. And then advance the thrust levers. Okay. It will do in this case because the parking brake's set and everything. But you'll still get the config warning. But say if you're on the runway, it was outside that green, and you went.
So you get one of those.
That's takeoff warning. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So 4.8. So is that about there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. So that should work. You said.
Should work. Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously this in real life this bit will be done quite late on. You would have done all the pre-flight because obviously the load sheet doesn't come straight away. The dispatches, the aircraft's still being loaded. They don't know the final weight yet. The check-in might still be open, etc. So this would have been done quite late on.
Right. Okay.
You normally just set the route up, put the stuff in you want, and then come back to you do as much as you can basically. Put the estimated zero fuel weight in, and then you put the actual when you get the load sheet.
Okay.
So once you finish doing that, you then go up and start doing your proper panel scan, and then set the aircraft up.
Right. Okay. Cool. Right. Okay. Well, I think we've. Is that it for the FMS?
Basically, yeah. We'll come back to it just to double check before we go flying.
Where would you kind of rest these pages on?
Pilot flying will normally have it on takeoff.
Yeah.
The takeoff page, and the pilot monitoring will have it on the legs page.
On the legs page.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. Which is what it's got.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I guess that now we want to just make sure that we've got all the right stuff on the MCP.
Yeah, so you start at the top really.
Right.
Right. No, so right on the overhead panel. So you look straight up, and you start up here, top left. So looking basically all those switches are guarded, none of those lights are on, and the yaw damp P turned on. That's held on a solenoid, so that just locks in. Sometimes that switch in the real aircraft during power transfers, APU, things like that might click off.
It has popped off before now for me.
Yeah. So as soon as it doesn't have sort of AC power, it will click off.
Right. Okay.
Or as an interruption,
Cool.
and then continue down. So they're all on. Fuel temp, obviously, that's making sure it's working and looking at the right temp.
All right.
Crossfeed is closed. We don't tend to sort of test that valve. You can do just for this. This crossfeed valve. You'll get the light will then go light blue, and then it should go dim when it's actually in its position. There you go.
There you
so
go.
that means it's now in its commander position.
Right.
And then put it back to.
But we don't want the crossfeed tape before the engine start.
That's right.
Fuel pumps. When do we turn those on?
Normally turn them on just before we start, but you can turn them on now. It's no problem.
Yeah. It's one less thing to worry about.
On the ground, basically the max imbalance you can have between the lateral balance is 453 kilos, which I think equates to £1,000
Okay.
from the old American days. But The centre tank pumps we only have on the ground normally when we've got more than a ton. More than 453 kilos in the centre tank, we've turned them on. But as long as you've got more than a ton before takeoff, we turn them off before takeoff.
So we've got 0 at the moment in this one.
Yeah, so they'll be off anyway. It's just so you don't get any low pressure lights, any master cautions in the climb out, because obviously you're going to burn quite a lot of fuel. You don't want to be distracted in the climb, so we tend to turn them on when we get the cruise if we've got sort of 800 kilos in the centre.
Got you. All right.
Then we move up to the next panel.
So you go kind of down to the bottom and then back to the top.
Strips, yeah.
All right. So galley power. I guess we're going to need some coffee.
Definitely. Yeah. Turn that on quick.
First things first.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
All the guards down.
That's fine, that's fine.
Check
External
those.
power's off.
APU's already on bus, that's
APU's
fine.
on
The
bus.
bus transfer switch is in auto.
Okay, back to the
And
top.
then back at the top, set your lightings. They're in normals, not alternates.
All right,
that'll click down. Yeah,
put the emergency lights on.
Fueling's finished. You can put the seatbelt signs on.
Yeah, all right.
Wipers and all that. For normally we start on the right igniters at home base.
Okay.
And then when we're down route, we put it to left.
We're in Dublin on our way with the nuns.
You could say we're at the start of the first of the sector of the day. So what we normally do is just because dispatching wise, without going complicated MELs, the right igniter is a lot more restricting. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more things that they need to do if the right igniter fails on the ground. So we start that at home base because where we have engineering support.
Okay.
So if that has any problems, we can get it sorted. If you're down route, the left igniters.
So we're here in Dublin.
easier.
There's just you and I and some nuns. So
yeah, start on the right. It's fine. Absolutely, start on the right.
Right. Okay. I don't think they're 737 rated nuns either. So
okay.
Window heat. We want to probably get that
going
now.
On,
yeah. How long before the start would you normally chuck this on? Is this
you stick them on straight away?
Right.
Yeah. If you're down route and it's really hot, like in Spain in the summer, you might turn them off just for the turnaround.
This is a bit of a pain. There you go. Right.
Pedestatics we leave off until we start the engines.
Cool. Engine anti-ice we don't need, do we, today?
No, that stays off until the engine is started. Hydraulics, we normally wait until we've heard, either we've seen the steering pins are actually in, or you've got clearance from the ground from the engineers that everybody's standing away from. Let's pretend the engineer said, yeah, everybody's clear cleared to the hydraulics.
Boys, you are cleared to pressurise your hydraulics.
Not stereotyping at all, though.
No. Well, actually, no, in Dublin, they're more likely to be Polish or something these days, aren't they? So I wouldn't worry about that.
Back up the top up here.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll just move us over for this one because there's a bit to do on this panel, isn't there?
Yeah. So this is the old analog. A lot of them don't have this anymore. It's been sort of phased out and replaced with the 800's automatic pressurization system. So a lot of 300s don't have this anymore.
Okay. Just talk us through this panel real quick then.
So up here, this is just basically the temperature controller. So you've got supply duct. So if you click left and right on this,
that's the temperature.
That just adjusts whatever that gauge is.
Okay. So that's the temperature.
Applicable to what you've got selected at the top. So packed cabin, it'll tell you what the cabin temperature is, and vice versa for the supply duct.
All right, cool. All right. So where would you normally leave that?
Temps. You'd normally leave that probably on the packed cabin, probably.
Okay. All right. So it's pretty chilly in the back there at the moment.
Yeah. So obviously there's no APU on. So APU air on. Sorry. You normally leave them in normal, but obviously these are older aircraft than when they came out of the factory, so they do tend to be all different. They do tend to get a bit crazy on a cold morning. If you leave them in auto and the doors are open and stuff, it tends to drive the air mix valve to full hot and supply duct will be around about 75, 80 degrees. You can start to smell sort of a burning smell. So,
we might be better to run it over the
you've actually got to manually click them down into the manual. So once you get down to the sort of left 45 degrees there, it sort of stops, and then you push it harder and it clicks down to the manual. And basically that will go to the 6 o'clock position, and you can move it slightly left, slightly right, and it will manually move the air mix valve. There's no APU air on yet, so
it's not actually going to do anything yet.
It won't move at all.
Okay, all right.
So when it's off, it'll just drive it to full cold.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll leave it on normal so that we don't have to worry about it. But that's an interesting.
Yeah.
737 is it?
That's right.
Recirc fan. We're going to check those on.
Stick it auto. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You can hear that go up.
So that's just moving the air around the cabin.
Yeah.
Cool.
So now you've got the pressurization. So the left pack will be off normally. The right pack will be off. The isolation valve will be auto, which looks like it is.
Yep.
It's not open, is it? Is that auto? Yeah,
no, it's auto, yeah.
So that looks very normal. So you've just started the APU, so you can put the APU bleed air on.
Okay. So now we see the
duct pressure will go up.
Yeah. So now the APU is now forcing air through the The packs, or
not the packs yet, because you haven't activated. But they're in the ducts. You've opened sort of the sort of flow gate and the
right. So we've opened so the river's flowing, but we've not opened the dam yet.
So
right, okay.
So that's the situation you'd be in before engine start.
Right. Okay.
But you want to put. Let's say it's a bit cold in the back, and you want to warm the nuns up. So let's put the left pack on.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm talking rubbish. So right pack on for the cabin.
Okay, so right pack.
Yeah, normal ops on the ground, you'll only run one pack. I think the 800 you can have both, but the 300 is normally just one.
Okay.
I think in the manual it states if it's cold soaked and it's freezing cold outside, you can use both packs to get the aircraft warmed up, but a normal ops you'll use one pack in auto.
So we should see that start to climb now.
Yeah, so if you go on your supply duct, it'll tell you what kind of air's coming in.
There you go.
Yeah,
Still
and
pretty.
you can move it up, and you can see the air mix valve move slightly. Obviously, this on the left-hand side won't move at all because the pack's off. It just drives it to full cold.
Oh, there you go. So as you move it around, you can see the thing changing.
Yeah, so it's quite slow. Obviously, it's a big mechanical valve that's moving.
Right. Okay.
So.
Well, there you go. Looks like it's getting warmer now. So don't expect it to become magically really hot really quickly.
It can do warm. It can do warm very well. It just can't do cold very well.
Right. Okay.
The packs aren't great at cooling the aircraft on the 300.
Cool. All right, and then. Finally down here.
Yeah.
Now this looks a bit scary.
That's right. It's really not, but it's if everything goes to plan, you shouldn't really touch much of it. Throughout, you shouldn't touch any of it really. So automatic, you've got the four modes: auto, standby, AC, and DC.
Okay.
It's always in auto unless something goes wrong. Standby basically just means that it's like another auto mode. It's AC and manual basically mean you have full control manually over the outflow valve.
I don't really want to do that.
No.
So basically, as long as we leave that in auto.
Yeah,
and we leave that in standby.
At the detent. Yeah, so that you shouldn't use this standby panel is only used in the standby mode.
Right. Okay.
So basically, in auto, you're only using the two bits on the left, the flight altitude and the landing altitude, and the rest of it does the same. It does itself.
So we're going to go to 18.
Yeah.
So we're going to put that in there, and Manchester's about 250 feet.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but you set 250. So the landing altitude, you're going to set 200 feet below Manchester's elevation.
Oh, right, so 50.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's just so the aircraft is depressurised and you can open the doors.
Yeah, I'm actually from near Manchester as well. I should probably know what Manchester's. I think about 250 feet. That's about right.
So
the cabin altitude thing in the middle, we don't need to play around.
Sorry, I'm talking rubbish. There we go. So you just stop. Landing altitude, you do set 250, and it's the cabin out yourself. You set 200 feet below.
When's your command upgrade again, did you say?
Confusing me now talking about it. You don't always do it from memory. It's all muscle memory.
Oh, dear, that's funny.
So, yeah, 50 feet is the cabin altitude, because that's the one that's applicable to the pressurization. So,
right.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That is.
So we want 18 for the flight altitude.
Yeah, because what it does, it captures the altitude when you take off.
Yeah.
So if you decide to return to base, providing you don't touch it at all.
Okay.
I mean, like, don't touch it. It'll be fine when you land back in Dublin.
Right. Okay.
It'll return to base. If you even push that in, you need to reset the whole thing.
Oh, I won't push it then. Right. Okay. We'll leave it.
So you either don't do anything or you do everything. It's
right. Okay.
And basically, the last thing is the flight ground switch. We leave obviously in ground. Let's say if we forgot to put it in flight and we took off, it does work off. It should work off the weight on wheels. It should pressurise.
It should pressurise.
Yeah, it should do.
So this is a bit of a unique 737 thing.
Yeah.
You don't see this on 777 or anything else.
No, you don't. No. It's, so
okay.
You do that after engine start.
All right. Cool. So that's that.
And that's the over. So then normally what you do, you just go across the top of the lights. You'll finish off just the top. Finish off your lights, so you should just have the position lights on, and that's about it, really.
That's about it for now, yeah.
And then obviously igniters, start switches are off, and all your taxi and runway turn-offs and landing lights are off.
Yep.
And then you'll come to the MCP.
Yeah. Okay.
And you'll set that up for whatever departure you're doing.
Let's put that in. So we're going to do 143. We're going to go off that way. Runway heading, I think 278.
Yeah.
Something like that. 277, that's close enough. And from memory, the initial altitude here is 9,000 feet.
Okay, that's nice and high.
So, hang on. I still haven't quite got the hang of the scroll wheels yet.
Yeah.
Do we turn the flight directors on?
Yeah, so whoever's flying it is... So whoever's PF's obviously this side, turn that one on first, and that becomes the master.
Okay.
So
that's me.
There you go.
Cool.
That arms the flight directors, so nothing comes on, unlike the triple or different Boeing types. When you arm the flight directors, the flight directors actually come on the ground. These won't obviously come on until you push toga.
Right. Okay.
That's a 737ism as well.
Let me get the pressure. 1013. That's quite
nice
handy.
and easy.
So 1013, 1013. One quick thing on this: we can change the instruments between the more modern ones and the old-fashioned ones.
Yeah, I prefer the analog.
Let's have a talk about this. Now, you were saying to me that because the 737-300 crashed quite famously at
400, I think it was. But yeah,
was it 400?
I think it's 400.
It's the same instruments there, wasn't it?
Yeah, Kegworth, the British Midland one, I think. So yeah, they had, from memory, I think they just converted onto the EIS system. This system
with these
now. Yeah,
instruments.
And if they're just not as nice to look at. They're not as easy. They're not as eye grabbing. So if you look, the big one, obviously they shut down the engine that was actually healthy, due to many factors of input from passengers, cabin crew, and things that they were feeling as well. But the big thing was the vibration gauge. You look at the vibration gauge. It's tiny. You've got this tiny little, 3 pixels of green light that sort of goes round the side, and it's not very eye grabbing at all. Again, the same with the thrust. You'll get this same green needle for the M1s and stuff. And it's just, if you go back to the analog one, it's so much easier to see if something's not right or not where it's supposed to be, because you've got these big white needles, and they should all be, because you've got 2 engines working in the same thrust and stuff, they should all be symmetrical.
Okay.
Occasionally the vibrations might say 1 and 1 might say 0, but they should all be pretty symmetrical. So it's just a lot easier to tell if something's not quite right using those. So I actually prefer these ones.
So ergonomically, this is a better one.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. So
if you notice on the later types with the sort of ICAS systems and all that, it sort of fills in the whole when the sort of thrust goes up on the digital ones, it fills in the whole instrument.
The whole instrument.
With the thrust, so it's a lot easier.
So they have
these
are kind of the oldest style.
Yes.
And then the other digital that are the kind of first generation digital.
Yeah.
And then the ones you've got now on the NG are they're on
the actual the multifunction displays.
They learned a few lessons about that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. Thinking auto brakes to RTO.
Yep. You probably start over here. Once you finish the top MCP panel, you go down to your oxygen, just test your oxygen. Then you come. Obviously, this is the captain side. So I'm not used to sitting in this.
You're
seat,
not just yet, my friend. But you work hard. You never know.
That's right. So obviously, you come right. Start on the first officer side. You then come right. Check everything there. You check. You just have a quick check of these lights here. Flick them up. You'll get all ambers. Clicking down, you get a couple of reds. There you go.
Okay.
And then you'll keep coming down. You've got the RTOs. You check the anti-skids in. You're just checking everywhere. Everything's where it's supposed to be.
What about speed bugs, by the way?
Yes, you do. So when you've bugged your speeds in here on your takeoff page, you can click QRH off just to tidy it up a little bit, and that gets rid of that there. You'd bug them up.
So what are we dragging then?
So you want first one at 80. You should have it if you've got enough.
So that's first one at 80.
That's your 80 knot call, and that's sort of a we normally, that's when stopping becomes very important. Above 80, we only stop for a certain thing. 80 knots is a sort of cut-off point. You can stop for most things below 80 knots.
Right.
For a low-speed rejet, above 80 knots, we only stop for the 5 main things: an engine fire, an engine failure, a control malfunction, a blockage on the runway, a car or something. Or control malfunction. So
basically 80, that's the cut-off point at which it's not V1, but we really don't want to be stopping after 80.
Then we sort of limit the things we stop for above that.
Okay. And then V1, that's the kind of go, no-go speed, which if you've ever watched any of the Airline2Sim videos, we've talked about ad nauseum. So that one's V1, 132, and then 134.
And then obviously you've got your
it's
V2.
Quite hard to see.
Yeah, it's horrible. 134, then your V2 is obviously there, and then the next bug, V2 plus 15.
So that's 43, 53, 58.
Yeah. And then the next one, you'll go for your min clean speed. So on the 7.3, on the ones we fly, the cutoff is 53 tons and 70 kilos.
Right.
So above that, it's 220 knots, and below that's 210 knots. So today it'll be 210 knots min clean.
Right.
Obviously,
so
on the 800 and stuff, you just have an up speed.
Is that 200 there, and that's 210?
That's 200 there, so that's 210.
That's 200.
That's 200.
And that's 210.
Yeah, that looks
better.
Oh my
God.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Let's be honest, in my 10 years, I've never really looked at an instrument. Because you've got the speed tape.
Yeah, okay.
So you only use it
now,
really if it fails.
What does this thing do?
You'd pull it out, and that manually selects the speed.
Right.
Again, it's something we just don't use.
All right. So you never really needed to use that one.
Manually sets your bug.
Right. Okay. Well,
so
we don't.
You push it back in, and then it gives it back to the MCP.
Right. That's fine. So we don't need to worry about that one. What about setting the orange bug on the barrow
You set that
here?
the acceleration height for the airport. So let's call it 1,000 feet today, and let's just pretend it's 1,200 feet.
Yeah. Well, that sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah. So put it to 1,200. So you put it basically to where that needle is. That's it.
Oh, right. Yeah. So hang on. It's
1,100, 1,200.
1,000. Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay, I've got you because it will
1,000
wind
feet
itself around.
Yeah.
I'm not used to these little needles.
Took me a while as well.
Winding around. Okay, now it's an RNAV departure. This one.
It is.
Do we need to fiddle around tuning the Dublin V?
You can do because on this one you've got the auto tuning boxes, so you can set whatever you want on them.
Right. Okay.
So in the background, it'll auto tune whatever it wants to get its DME fixes.
Do we do that?
So you'd set. I haven't seen the departure. I don't know what navigate it uses.
Hang on.
If it's an ARNA departure, you might not use any. So in which case, you probably just set something sensible like the ILS for 28 in case you wanted to come back, or the landing runway's ILS. So in this situation, you'd set the Oscar Echo,
right,
which is 316.
Okay.
As the NDB. Set that on both sides.
Okay. 316. 3 1 6.
Yes, it's quite a nice departure this. And then I'd set in both boxes. I'd put the 114.9, the Dublin VOR.
Okay.
Basically, you'd brief as a contingency. You'd brief that in case the LNAV wouldn't go in or something, you get to cross the Oscar Echo. And I probably put both of the. If you go down to your panel, I put both of them on ADF, which I think they're on VOR. So I put both on ADF.
Okay.
So basically, when those needles tumble, you track towards it when they tumble to make a right turn, and then you flick them over to VOR around the corner, and obviously you've got the Dublin VOR, and you track inbound on the 096, go over the top and track outbound on the radio as well.
Okay, you make it sound so easy, Johnny.
Well, it doesn't happen that often. Doesn't fail very often.
I want to put my. Do I want to get a map mode?
No, normally, map, yeah.
And then map mode.
And you'd also wind these down to -20 for your decision height reference, because you're not going to be doing a Cat 3, so you don't need that. That's because it's a height reference, unless you're doing Category 3 approaches.
So that
using altitudes.
That gets rid of it from the display.
So if you wind it down the first officer side as well, it gets rid of that as well.
Okay, all right. Cool. All right, that's it. So we're pretty much ready to go then, are we?
Flight now, really,
right.
Yeah. So you've got the speeds in. We've done the weights.
So
we've just done a quick brief there. So very quick brief.
Very quick brief.
So the way we normally do departure on this is, in this situation, it would be an LNAV VNAV departure, but we don't engage. Unlike other types, we don't engage. We don't arm LNAV and VNAV. You can't arm LNAV and VNAV on the ground.
Okay.
So I don't know what. Some aircraft, when you push toga, it engages heading select.
This one does.
It does, okay,
this one
fine,
does, yeah.
So what we normally do, you go toga, and that will take you up to 400 feet. 400 feet, you'll go LNAV. And then 1,200 feet, I haven't looked if there's any noise abatement here.
I think it might be 3,000 feet.
Okay,
so you know what? Let's not worry about that.
Okay, let's do 1,000 feet then. Let's pretend there's nothing.
It's got 1,500 feet as the default. So change that to 1,000.
You can do, yeah. So that would be automatic. Some aircraft have this, some don't. It's a fit. So basically, 1,000 feet above the ground, it'll automatically go into M1. The thrust will come back to climb 1.
So N1 being essentially the climb mode.
Yeah, and it'll open the speed window at that point.
Right, okay.
So it gives it back to you. And if you had noise abatement procedure, you'd leave it at that till you got to sort of 3,000 feet, really.
Right, okay.
But in this situation, we're going to accelerate. So you'd bug up your clean speed, which is 210 knots.
Right.
So you get M1, 210 knots.
That's there. We've bugged that already.
And you retract the flaps on schedule.
All right, cool. Right, let's.
And then once the flaps are open, the lights, you go VNAV.
Yeah, again, you make it sound so easy, Johnny. Right, so pre-flight. So we tested the oxygen, instrument transfer switches. Where are they, by the way? What is an instrument transfer switch?
Just up above your head here. Here, look.
Okay, so is that what's driving which instrument?
Yeah, so basically, say if one of the pilots lost their screen,
yeah,
you could try the EFI on both. Say if the first officer lost his or hers, you could move it across to both on one, and if the screen came up, you'd probably know it's something to do with the actual system in the screen, not the screen that's failed, because the screen pop up. So
okay,
you just run the checklist.
In
really.
the the triple, it does all that kind of stuff automatically.
Yeah, it would probably. I can't.
Clever.
That's over a year ago. My brain's not big enough
Your
to
brain's not big enough to remember all that. Pressurization mode selector is on auto.
Yes.
We know that. Flight instruments, heading. And
yeah, so you're just checking against the compass, and you both got the same one. So heading 131.
131, and 200 and 200,
yeah.
and 13. Does that look about right there?
Yeah, so that's actually aligned to this side. So that's aligned to the captain's side. So you don't sort of have to look at it straight on.
Right.
It's aligned from the captain's side of the compass.
Okay. Speed
the
brake
first officer
levers
always flying about 5 degrees off. No, that's parking brake. Yeah, speed limit's down, so that'll be full. The speed lever's fully forward.
Okay, so down
that's
there.
it.
Yeah, cool. And the engine start levers are cut off.
Yes.
Right, before start checklist. So fuel. So we're just checking we've got the.
Yeah, so you'd cross-check against your flight plan to what you have in tanks on those gauges. But these gauges, again, they're not that accurate. I mean, they sometimes fluctuate. You know, just looking at them, they're moving 20 kilos up and down. So you cross-check again, that gets the FMC, which is done by the sort of fuel summation unit, which converts it across.
We've used a bit from the left because the AP is.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And when you turn the when you finish the centre tank fuel, it'll scavenge it into the left tank to sort of cope with that imbalance. So if you're using this, not today, but say if you have fuel in the centre, turn them off, it automatically for 20 minutes pumps the rest of the fuel in the centre into the left tank.
Okay. So passenger signs are on. We did that. The windows are locked. MCP, so it's it's laggy.
Yeah, it's the only thing you really got. So once the captain's done, he or she will normally look at the speeds and go, right, you'll do one check. So you'd go across, you go auto throttle arm, to click that up.
Yeah.
You've got a V2 of 143, and the cleared altitude is 9,000 or 90. Is it 9? Flight level 90.
Flight level 90,
yeah. Flight level 90.
Okay, CD pre-flight's complete. Rudder and aileron trim. That should be over here, but we haven't moved any of that around, so that's 0 and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing. Well, we've only got a taxi. The runway's just over there.
Yeah, we can talk about that on the way out.
That's easy. Recirculation, that's the cargo flight, so ignore that.
Yeah.
So cliff push and start. So transponder, how do we turn transponder on?
So basically you want depending on the airline, some will turn them to full TA-RA on the ground, obviously because it inhibits the sort of the RA sort of portion of it. This one
this is on RA.
Yeah, so you put, what have you got? TA-RA. You probably put just a TA if you want, I don't know. It depends. On the airline, TA should be fine. I can't see what the one on the. Is it just above and below? Is it?
That's above and below, yeah.
Okay.
So what's the easiest thing for us to kind of forget about? So
I've never seen this transponder.
This is a new transponder on you. So if we put that on TARA and put that onto auto, then that's probably
fine,
do the job. Yeah.
As I said, it inhibits the RA portion below 1,000 feet anyway, so it's not going to set anybody else's
flight deck door. Flight deck door is closed and locked.
Yeah.
Packs. So is this both packs off now?
Yeah. So you want both packs. Is this cleared for push start? Yeah. So yeah, both packs off. So it goes nice and quiet.
And then the anti-collision light comes on.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Right. Let's get a pushback. So, okay. Right. So we're clear to push.
Yeah.
You got to push up on the brakes, haven't you, in this aeroplane?
Yeah. You got to click them, and that takes it off.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we'll start moving back.